Just to give you a sense, it's the only hotel in the world where we are basically changing the chandelier every time that the guest spends the night in the master bedroom because it's done with ostrich feathers.
Wow.
And you cannot change them.
Welcome to Luxury Travel Innovators. I'm your host, Adam Deflorian. Live from Virtuoso Travel Week, I'm joined by Barbara Muckermann, CEO of Kempinski Hotels. Barbara, thank you so much for joining me on Luxury Travel Innovators.
Thank you for having me.
How are you on this Wednesday of Virtuoso Travel Week?
Fantastic, of course. It's great to see the travel advisors community and every so geared up on traveling around the world.
Fabulous, fabulous. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about Kempinski Hotels and the history of the brand?
Well, Kempinski is the oldest hospitality company in the world, and many people don't know it. I also consider it the best kept secret in the industry, honestly. We have 75 properties around the world, 38 countries. We are leader in China, Europe, and the Middle East, and hopefully very soon in the United States.
It's fantastic. So it is the first hotel brand, right?
Yes, the company was founded in 1862, but actually the Kempinski DNA is much more than a hotel because the company started as a wine merchant. It introduced wine in Berlin, opened the first resort in the world, had the first hotel with a pool, started combining entertaining with dining for the first time. Here we are in Vegas. There's a lot of that around here.
Yes.
And from there, it has been innovation after innovation. And really, Kempinski has been a lifestyle brand for Germany when Berlin was the center of the world.
And it was headquartered in Berlin.
It was headquartered in Berlin, but just to give you a sense, we had Billy Wilder learned how to dance at the Kempinski. We were looking at footage of Liza Minnelli talking about caviar at Kempinski. So it is really a brand that has a historical significance like no other, and this is an amazing opportunity to really freshen it up and bring it back to this amazing world in 2025.
To the golden era.
Yes, absolutely. Is all of those things, like we are in Sin City now, Berlin in 1920s was the European version of that.
I love it. So what are you doing to bring back all of these incredibly historic and relevant moments into the brand today, which I think makes it so exciting?
So the first thing we did, we paid actually 15 archivists to go and scour all of this incredible history out. They found, for example, the first advertising for a food delivery service in the world, which was, of course, by Kempinski in Berlin, delivering fresh oysters to your home with a bicycle. And this, we are talking about 1915. So just to give you a sense. And so the first thing was really understanding the history. But then today, almost 150 years later, we are really trying to understand how is this DNA of innovation and hospitality relevant for today's customers. And I think the answer we found is that if we look at everything that Kempinski did in his history, first of all, it always added really a level of pleasure to everything that they were doing. It's not just food, but it's food with a show. It's not just lunch, but it's lunch with a glass of wine. It's not just a glass of wine, it's a glass of wine with an oyster. So in this, we really see that also in our DNA today is this surprise and delight. The second thing that Kempinski always had its restaurants and hotels open to the city. I think it's terrible when luxury is closed and you really feel almost not well-dressed when you walk into an hotel. Hotel needs to be welcoming, needs really, real luxury is also about being comfortable and, embracing every guest the same way.
100%. I totally agree. That welcoming culture is what hospitality's core is, right?
Yeah. It should be, actually.
It should be, and unpretentious. Can you give our listeners a little bit more background on yourself and how you're bringing some of your cruise expertise, many, many years in cruise, into kind of further catapult the success and positioning of Kempinski?
Well, I really think that in a certain sense, this Kempinski opportunity came really at the pinnacle of what has been a very privileged career. I started early in PR, and then I was fortunate enough to work in 2 stints for Silver Sea Cruises in 2 very different eras of the brand with 10 years apart. And eventually, Silver Sea Cruises was sold to Royal Caribbean Cruises, and I was fortunate enough to stay on and become the president and CEO. Silver Sea is a blazing company. It invented luxury at sea and then invented luxury expedition. And it was an absolute incredible experience for me. In the meantime, I've also had the privilege of working for Loro Piana.
Okay.
And I always say that, you really learn luxury when you have a chance of working close to such a visionary creator.
Yes.
Fashion is different than travel. But then when the Kempinski opportunity came about, I thought that here is where there are all of the ingredients to really make a huge difference in the hotel space, because we can take a lot of the learnings from the cruise industry, really bring them over, and you have a brand with a history like no other, a really pretty sizable company. We have 24,000 rooms and 75 hotels. And also, this is coming in a moment in which the hotels are expanding. There's fewer and fewer private brands. So we really have a chance of doing something special with this one.
That's amazing. And isn't it interesting, too, how I'm sure you've given your stints at Loro Piana and Silver Sea, how hospitality is sort of in a certain, it's very focused in a certain approach to how we book hotels, how we think about hotels, and how we transact, and how different that is than, the way that a fashion brand like Loro Piana sells online in a modern e-commerce cart, or the same with cruise, right?
Absolutely. And what I find fascinating, actually, as per background, I'm a brand and marketing person, is actually how the ladder of desire is different. So if you work for a retail or fashion brand, creating desire is actually pretty easy, because you show this beautiful garment, and we always say you become luxury by wearing luxury. You really only need to convince someone to go to a store. You put up this amazing cashmere sweater. You feel so good about it. You buy it, and it's done. Luxury cruise, you need to be able to part a very smart individual with $60,000, $80,000, if it's an Antarctica cruise, 2 years before he or she sees the product, and you don't have anything to show for it. So from a marketing perspective, it's a complete different game.
Totally.
And hotels are actually totally nerve-wracking, because the 50% of the sale, more or less, depends, of course, from the destination, actually happened in the last 2 weeks. So it is a complete different funnel again, which I really find fascinating.
Plus, you have expiring inventory, just like food.
Absolutely.
If you don't sell it today, and it's not going to be available tomorrow.
It's frozen food. You better get rid of it today.
With the cashmere sweater, it still exists.
Absolutely.
And butter yellow will come back, so you can probably look at it that way. Overall, for our listeners that are ownership groups and asset managers, how does Kempinski differentiate its approach to hotel management?
So we like to think like owners. So I think the biggest difference is that we are owners-operators. We are managers, but we are also owners-operators. And everything I've done in the last year is really to shift more and more towards an owner's mentality. I strongly believe that if you want to be successful in today's, I can say, sea of sameness of the hotels, you need to have a strong point of view on luxury. But we cannot really ask our owners to follow us with this research and the really definition of the product unless we are ready to put skin in the game.
Absolutely.
And this is really our philosophy that we are now discussing with our amazing owners.
What percentage are you guys ownership to hotel management agreements? So
we have, most of our hotels are management agreement at the moment, but we do also own some hotels.
Fantastic. Yeah, I have this conversation a lot with both management companies as well as owned operators, right? And you're absolutely right. Having a combination of the both, it just makes so much sense, right? And it gives owners faith that you are doing exactly the best for them as well as the hotel management organization. Makes sense. What does it mean to you to be the first woman leading Kempinski in its 128-year history?
Oh, it was time. And I actually have to say that coming from the cruise industry where there's a lot of women CEOs, I was surprised to see that there's very few group enterprise women leading hotel groups. And because the hotel industry is probably 10, 20 times bigger than the cruise industry. And yet it's pretty there's still opportunity there to improve.
Absolutely, because I don't know that there's many others when we look at the whole list. I know Shannon at leading, but I mean, other than that, in the group-wise, there's not many.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think this is coming from the maturity of the industry.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at cruise, typically the way, 10, 20 years ago, most people were coming from operations and finance.
Absolutely.
In hotels, we still have the operational side, which is prevalent, and you tend to have more male figures that are trained in operations, while women are typically excelling in sales, marketing, and product. I personally believe this has completely changed now because sales and marketing is so paramount in the future of the success of any hotel that I think we'll see more and more women coming up.
What would you tell young women today that are coming up in the hospitality industry and have goals to be in leadership? What piece of advice would you give them?
I'm just like leverage on the fact that you're a woman. Use what can be a perceived weakness sometimes really as a strength. I always considered my biggest advantage to be a blonde with blue eyes because people think you're completely stupid sometimes. And, by the time they figure out you have a brain, you actually manage to gain quite a good competitive advantage. Not everybody, but it still happens.
I love it. So far at Kempinski, what are you personally most proud of?
The people. I was so proud of seeing how service is really flowing in the veins of this company. In any Kempinski in the world you will go, and I mystery shop some before joining as CEO, you really see that there is this service culture, which I'm honestly, from a business perspective, trying to decode. I've not been successful at it, but there is this kind of culture and oral tradition for which we have the best GMs and the best people in the industry. You walk into a Kempinski and the level of service is just completely different from anything else you've ever experienced.
Who do you put in your comp set?
Well, it really depends from city to city. Let's say, I actually think that one of the brands, two of the brands I'm mostly respectful of one is Rosewood, because I think they've done an amazing work of really working with an authenticity of the place.
Okay.
And the other one is Amman, because they have, Amman Resorts has a very, very unique business proposition.
Totally.
Where I'm having a harder time, and I'm actually paid to try to understand this industry, so I can imagine the confusion for consumers, is when you have maybe brands that are really blurring why do you exist? Why does your brand need to exist?
Yeah.
I think that if you want to have a space in the consumer world, you need to also have something to say.
Yeah.
It's just not enough to take a beige building and change flag.
Totally.
You're not creating value, neither for the owner nor for the public, honestly.
Well, shameless plug. They're both customers of ours, so that's very inspiring. So thanks for mentioning both of them, and they're doing such a good job. I agree with you.
This was not planted, as you know.
I love it. So, what are some of if you can share some of your upcoming properties in the pipeline, new management agreements, new owned properties?
Well, I was incredibly proud of signing the Nymphenburg Royal Residency.
Yeah.
This is a very unique property. First of all, because Kempinski is a German brand.
Yeah.
We are the top German brand, and it has this German gravitas and mystique. And so one of the objectives is, of course, to increase our German footprint, but in the right way. Also, our historical hotel is the Vier Jahreszeit in Munich, which has been the hotel of the Royal House of Bavaria since 1856. Wow. So the moment when Prince Luitpold of Bavaria approached us and asked us whether we wanted to manage his private residency, which is in the park of Nymphenburg. Nymphenburg is the Versailles of Munich.
Okay.
This was an amazing privilege. And when I walked to the residency, I said, this is really where it can all restart, because this residence represents luxury. Yeah. Just to give you a sense, it's the only hotel in the world where we are basically changing the chandelier every time that a guest spends a night in the master bedroom, because it's done with ostrich feathers.
Wow.
And you cannot change them. So this is you cannot just wash them. You need to change the whole thing. So this is really how luxurious this residence is.
That's amazing. Are ostrich feathers, I would assume, quite large?
Quite big and very pink, actually.
Very, very pink. That's incredible. Can you speak to me a little bit about Global Hotel Alliance, GHA, and what your relationship is with them, how it functions as a loyalty platform.
So we are the proud owner of the Global Hotel Alliance. We are the majority shareholder with some other amazing groups. And I think the Global Hotel Alliance really represents how data is becoming central to the future of marketing. As you know, it is the largest independent platform of loyalty programs. And it is an amazing opportunity for our owners, but also for other hotel chains, to leverage from the strength of the scale that the 700 and more hotels in the Alliance give us, while at the same time maintain your individual control over the guests. So it is an amazing opportunity, and they see a huge growth potential for GHA.
That's great. I had Ian on from Minor Hotels, which is obviously also a shareholder in GHA, so I'm giving as much publicity to GHA. I think it's a great program.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about your team structure at Kempinski and what that looks like overall?
So the first thing we did actually was strengthening the team, because at the end of the day, the hospitality is all about people. And we were very fortunate to attract some amazing talents. We got Karine Ragin from LVMH, who is the head of HR, because we really wanted to have someone who had that luxury experience. But also we hired this chief talent officer, Hoda Tahon from Russell Reynolds Associates. So we have two very heavy people in HR, because we really wanted to signal this is a people business first.
Yes.
Also very lucky to have Gordon Drake joining us as CFO. He has a really long history working with Prince Al Walid in really building Kingdom and building Four Seasons as a consequence, then moving to Six Senses with Rocco Forte before, and very, very, very lucky to have him here. And from there, more strength with Rachel Abadidi joining us with the product division. Kempinski, to my surprise, didn't have a product division before. And for me, product is the center, because it's like Clinton would have said about the economy. Product is for an hotel business. You need to get to have a distinct point of view on what is your luxury product. So Rasha joined us, and she has an amazing team, and I'm sure she will do a lot to differentiate Kempinski.
That's incredible. How do you guys position your digital platform, your digital product? You know, hospitality obviously and is so much operational, and what you do in your physical product. What do you do in the digital space?
So the digital space, as you know, it's changing every month. And I personally think that this is one of the areas where Kempinski has the biggest opportunity. When we started to look at how our distribution is currently divided, we immediately realized that we had huge opportunities both on brand.com, on the direct-to-consumer, but also on the luxury travel advisors. And this is why we are at Virtuoso today. So these are the two channels where we want to invest more. In terms of the digital future, my biggest question, which I'm sure most executives have, is in a world in which about 30% of any website visits are AI bots. How will we need to deliver and change our digital experience to not just serve the consumers, but also serve the bots? So this is, I think, the big question that I'm not sure anybody has one answer.
Yeah, that's what we're working on quite extensively, is figuring out how not only can you serve the bots with the most relevant content fastest and most beautiful content fastest, but to ensure that the bookings still continue through direct channels or through travel advisors and not through necessarily OTAs, right? You just want to make sure that from a technology perspective, you're ahead of that, right?
Absolutely.
So that's very exciting. And it's so interesting because everything is moving on the AI front so quickly, right? It's days, it's weeks, it's months. It has nothing to do with years. It's just changing the way that humans interact and function daily, and making those steps to get there is key. At Virtuoso Travel Week, it's all about the power of the travel advisor. And, globally, obviously, advisors are such a critical component of booking luxury. And, obviously they have the relationship with the high net worth individuals, but they also understand what their clients want, right? They're great at clienteling, understanding the types of experiences that they want to have. How do you guys reward advisors and treat advisors, and what part of your business is the travel advisor?
So as I was mentioning before, I think this is a huge opportunity. When I arrived from, of course, the cruise industry that has a historical, very strong relationship with advisors, to Kempinski, I was honestly shocked to see the low numbers of, for example, Virtuoso distributed rooms. So, our first priority is really to find the right advisors and work with them in tandem and in partnership to make sure that we get their customers. Because even if I'm always saying to Matthew, with all the respect and love I have for him, that he's the most expensive date in town, it is a date that's absolutely worth it. Because the clients that the Virtuoso Network delivers have the highest lifetime value you can ever imagine. They book suites, they have longer stays, and they really just understand luxury in the right way. So for us, is investment all in making sure that we triple and really grow double digits every year with the Virtuoso Network.
Makes perfect sense. How do you, what would you define as your ultimate goal for Kempinski coming into the role and over the period of time that you've been there and you have more to do, right? What would you consider success? What do you define success if you, in a couple of years looked back? What would be that definition of success for Kempinski?
Regaining its rightful place as the leader of luxury. Because let's remember, luxury hospitality was invented by Kempinski.
Yes.
And it's typically a European version of that.
Yes.
And today, Kempinski is punching below its weight. So we need to go back and regain our space.
And what would you tell a guest that's booking direct, that doesn't have a travel advisor booking on their behalf and putting them in a Kempinski? And they haven't tried Kempinski, but they're luxury consumers that stay at the Amans, the Montages, the Rosewoods, the Rocafortes, the Oetker collections. What would you say to them to get them to try a Kempinski? Why should they do it?
Be prepared for an amazing collection of individuals. I think the biggest difference between the Kempinski approach and other very successful brands is really that each one of our hotels is different.
Yes.
And each one is really trying to deliver the best authentic experience in destination. Mm-hmm. And I also think this is what the consumer of today really wants.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what we've been hearing on the podcast, what you hear at Virtuoso Travel Week, what you hear at ILTM, that the customer wants, they want exclusive experiences that are different. They don't just want big brands and big box, they want that. How do you develop people? It sounds like you've brought on this extraordinary team to train people, develop humans, right? And I instead of saying training, right, it's people development. What do you guys do to develop people to serve the guests that way?
Well, we have a lot of existing programs, but we are actually trying to bring them all to the next level. Also because you can only be successful at the scale of a company like Kempinski if you completely empower the local teams.
Yes.
One of the things I was most proud this year was to be able to promote Nadine as the first Omani woman to really be a GM of an hotel in the whole of Oman. And, and immediately 6 months later, she was voted best hotelier of the country. So these are the kind of, I think, signals that a company like us really needs to bring, because then you will be able to flourish the talent.
Yeah, that's amazing. What do you think? I know you're headquartered now in Dubai, right? What do you think about the GCC and everything that's happening there, from the giga projects in Saudi with PIF to what's happening in UAE and Abu Dhabi, etc.?
So our main headquarters at the moment is still in Geneva. We have a very important office in Dubai. And I think it is important to have both, exactly for the reason you just mentioned, because the kind of energy and the investment and innovation that you're seeing in the GCC at the moment, you don't see anywhere else in the world. Yeah. So we are already leader in the area, but I have to say we're incredibly excited to work with a lot of partners on some amazing projects that I don't want to jinx, but hopefully we will be able to announce soon.
That's fantastic. And do you think the inflow of guests from at least what we've been seeing, whether it be at the Qatari Investment Conference and others, right, is that the guest and the growing middle class in India, as well as around the GCC, as well as, of course, China, anywhere that's a 7 hour or 8 hour or below flight into that region is going to fill all of these rooms, right? I mean, it's just it's insane.
Look, it's incredible. And just last night, I was commenting with a colleague how Vegas is an incredibly successful development of destination out of absolute nothing. This is a desert. But Vegas has also the largest and wealthiest domestic market. in a certain sense, what Dubai managed to do is even more spectacular because the domestic market is actually pretty small.
Very
so
small,
everybody's flying from somewhere else into Dubai. So if you look at the two destinations, they're both incredibly successful, but Dubai started from a farther back position.
Totally.
So imagine what they can do. There's something that, the ruler of Dubai said is that everyone who tried to bet against Dubai lost for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And I think it will continue to be like this.
Fantastic. Barbara, thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a great conversation today.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always finish with 3 easy rapid-fire questions that I would love to hear your thoughts on. First one is, what personal travel are you most excited about next? What vacation, holiday are you looking forward to?
The world is so big. I really want to go back to Bhutan. Bhutan is the country of happiness.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. What do you miss about the glamorous days of travel in the past?
The dignity. Going through an airport security is definitely neither a dignified nor a luxury experience.
It's funny. I had a guest yesterday that said it really well. He said, because then my next question is innovation in travel, right? And the past, he said, if we could figure out a way to leverage our AI tools and our technology to make non-invasive security, where you could return to being safe walking onto a plane, because safety is paramount, but being able to board an aircraft, know that everybody's been screened using AI, robotics, everything, right? But be able to get to the airport again 45 minutes before your flight, board. Then I had another guest who said, how can we make luggage transport better? So you don't have to bring your bags with you, right? And drag them through the airport and the whole process there. If you combine those two, the journey would be just as wonderful as the destination again. And I think we'll get there.
I totally agree with you.
What innovation in travel doesn't exist today that you think is missing? Doesn't have to be technology. It could be a product. It could be a luggage rack. What's missing?
I really think it's all going to be about friction, to your previous point. And this is where technology can help with a lot of back of the house. Mm-hmm. And it will be empower more and more the human connection, because at the end of the day, this is a people business.
It's a people business. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Luxury Travel Innovators. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you next time.